All right, Volkan Oezdimar took out Paul Craig. Paul Craig. Paul Craig is fucking awesome. He's always going to be one of my favorite fighters to watch. But he is a jiu-jitsu guy. He's almost purely a jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah, I've seen him throw the punches too. I know there's more to him, but he's been reduced to jiu-jitsu, being a jiu-jitsu guy in plenty of fights, and this was one of them. And sometimes that could be an ugly scene when it's not going the jiu-jitsu guy's way. His butt scooting and pulling guard and flopping around can be very disappointing to watch that as a fan of MMA, let alone as a fan of the fighter himself. And this was kind of disappointing. It was disappointing for the sport, watching the butt scooting and whatever. But also, look, it wasn't a complete, like, Nick Serra performance. Paul Craig looked very good at moments on the feet. He just doesn't look like, and he, to be fair, he doesn't have the chin to carry him through a fight like that, going blow for blow with Volkan Oezdimar. Or at least he doesn't have the faith that he has the chin to do that. So I understand. But, it wasn't the worst example of a jiu-jitsu guy flipping and flopping around. But there was a good amount of that. And overall, it wasn't a great fight. Volkan Oezdimar was ahead here. Maybe it's just bias because I've seen Paul Craig be knocked out a few times, but Volkan Oezdimar came closer to knocking Paul Craig out. There were some moments, just like in the fight with Krylov, where Paul Craig was on the ground. I feel like anytime I've seen him take a strike on the ground, it's like he goes out. But he's not knocked out. But it looks like he is. And it's always, Paul Craig is not using optics to his advantage in any fight. And he's pretty much banking on the submission. He came close a few times to, I don't know, a triangle, an omoplata, whatever, but nothing really. He didn't come close, but he threw up some shit. Volkan Oezdimar and leg locks, he was working in round one and a few times. But Volkan Oezdimar was a step ahead, and he was fighting like a guy who was a step ahead, as I talked about in the Hermanson fight. If you watch that video, Volkan Oezdimar was ahead in this fight, and it was on Paul Craig to make something happen. So you can't blame Volkan for fighting a slow fight like this, and in some ways you can't really blame Paul Craig because he was engaging in whatever. He just couldn't sustain the war because he knows he's got a weaker chin. So not a great night for Paul Craig. Not even a great night for Volkan Oezdimar, but he doubled his pay, or close, thereabout. And he looked a step ahead of Paul Craig. Paul Craig's a guy who's, an anomaly. He's got stylistic advantages over certain fighters, and he's got stylistic disadvantages over certain fighters, lesser fighters. But he is the guy that's taken out many great fighters, including Ankalaev, and he's ranked and the whole works, the whole bit. So, great win for Volkan Oezdimar on paper. And, be sure to like, share, subscribe, so you can hear more of this excitement in my fucking voice.